If you woke up today thinking this offseason was going to be smooth and calculated, that the 49ers would quietly restructure a few deals and reload for another Super Bowl run, I've got to be honest with you, that might not be the case. An NFL insider just dropped a bombshell, and it's the kind of report that should immediately grab the attention of every single member of the faithful. The 49ers and Trent Williams are reportedly in a contract standstill. Not minor disagreements. Not light. Negotiations, a legitimate standoff, and if they can't bridge the gap soon, Trent Williams could hit free agency. Let that sink in for a second. We're talking about a 5-time All-Pro. We're talking about the identity of this offensive line. We're talking about a player who carries a $39 million cap number this season. And according to Adam Schefter, the two sides are struggling to find a solution. If this isn't resolved, he would be expected to join the free agent class. That's not a small headline, that's seismic. Now, I need you to think about this with me. If Trent Williams actually hit the open market, would you consider that a front office failure, yes or no? I want you to answer that honestly, because this isn't just about money, this isn't just about age, this is about what this team is trying to accomplish right now. The 49ers are not rebuilding, they're not resetting, they're not developing for 3 years down the line. They are in a Super Bowl window. And when you're in a Super Bowl window, you do not casually let cornerstone players walk out the door. But here's where it gets complicated. The NFL is a business, and Trent Williams is turning 38. That matters. A $39 million cap hit matters. The 49ers have other contracts to manage. They have other players to retain. They have to structure this roster in a way that gives them flexibility. So I'm not here to blame Trent, and I'm not here to blame the front office. This is negotiation. This is leverage. This is the reality of roster building in today's NFL. But what I didn't expect, and maybe you didn't either, was the real possibility of free agency being attached to his name. That's what makes this feel different. Because if this were just a restructure, that's one thing. But when the words "expected to join free agency" get thrown around, that changes the entire temperature of the conversation. And here's the part that really makes this dangerous. There is no clear replacement waiting in the wings. We're not talking about a depth piece. We're not talking about a rotational guy. We're talking about arguably the most important position on the offensive line, protecting your quarterback's blind side. If this goes sideways, it doesn't just tweak the roster. It reshapes expectations. So the real question becomes, how did we get here in the first place? And is this simply business, or is this the 49ers showing their long-term hand? That's where this gets even more interesting. Now let's take this a step further, because this is where the emotion of it meets the business side of it. And sometimes that's not a comfortable place to be. John Lynch addressed the situation, and what he said was exactly what you'd expect from a general manager who understands the weight of the moment. He made it clear that he's spoken with Trent and his agent. He emphasized that Trent loves being a 49er. He emphasized that the organization loves having him, and he said it's up to them to thread that needle. That phrase matters, thread that needle, because that tells you this isn't hostility, this isn't bad blood. This is two sides trying to find a financial structure that makes sense for a 38-year-old All-Pro who still plays at an elite level, while also preserving flexibility for a team that wants to make another championship push. And here's the reality. Trent Williams is not just another player on this roster. He's an identity piece. When you think about the tone setters on this team, you think about Fred Warner, you think about George Kittle, you think about the physical, emotional backbone of what the 49ers represent. Trent is in that group. He's the guy walking out with the boombox. He's the guy finishing blocks through the whistle. He's the guy who makes the entire offense function at a higher level. So when you hear that the front office is pretty happy with 4 of their 5 starters on the offensive line, that's where fans start raising eyebrows. Because let's be honest with each other, this offensive line took heat last season. There were injury issues, there were inconsistency issues, there were games where protection broke down at the worst possible moments. And that was with Trent Williams on the field for most of the year. So if the organization believes they can mostly run it back, and at the same time they're negotiating hard with the one elite piece that makes the whole thing go, You can understand why this situation feels tense. Now, I want to ask you something directly. Do you trust the front office when it comes to the offensive line? Type trust if you believe they know exactly what they're doing. Type fix IT if you think they need to be more aggressive. Because this is the balance they're trying to strike. They have long-term cap planning. They have extensions coming. They have draft priorities. They have roster spots that need upgrades. And they're trying to make it all work without compromising the core. And that brings me to something important. If you're part of the faithful and you want real, honest breakdowns like this every time news drops, make sure you're subscribed. We're pushing toward 2,000 subscribers, and we're building something special here. If you haven't joined yet, this is your moment. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a single update. And if you want to go a step further, if you want to directly fuel the quest for the next Super Bowl trophy, you can use the Super Thanks or the Hype feature below this video. That's not a donation. That's you investing in this community. That's you helping us level up production, bring sharper analysis, and grow the Faithful family even stronger. Every bit of support pushes this channel forward. Now back to the situation. Trent wants to be paid fairly. The 49ers want cap flexibility. Both of those things can be true at the same time. But the clock is ticking. The new league year is approaching fast. If there's going to be a resolution, it has to happen soon. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. What if this isn't just a negotiation? What if this is the 49ers quietly preparing for a future without him? That's the scenario we need to examine next, because if this somehow falls apart, the ripple effects are massive. Let's talk about the scenario nobody wants to imagine, but everybody has to consider. What if this actually falls apart? What if the 49ers and Trent Williams can't find common ground, and he hits free agency? Right now, there is no real succession plan on this roster. And I don't mean a backup who can survive for a few games. I mean a legitimate blindside protector who keeps your Super Bowl window intact. That player is not sitting in the building. And that's what makes this so serious. Elite offensive tackles almost never hit free agency. Teams don't let them walk. When you find one, you keep him. And if Trent Williams were to hit the open market, even at 38, he would instantly become one of the most sought-after players available. That tells you everything you need to know about his value. Now let's be honest about last season. The offensive line caught criticism, protection broke down in key moments, there were injuries, there were games where things just didn't look dominant. But here's the part that should concern you. That was with Trent Williams anchoring the left side. Take him out of the equation, and the margin for error disappears. So what are the options? Well, you could look at the draft. The 49ers own pick 27, and this draft class has some serious talent at offensive tackle. There's a real possibility that someone like Alabama's Caden Proctor could be available in that range. Proctor is massive, he's powerful, he fits the physical mold that this team loves, and in a perfect world, he'd spend a season learning under Trent Williams before eventually taking over. But here's the problem. That plan only works if Trent is still here. Drafting a rookie and immediately throwing him into the fire at left tackle for a team with championship expectations, that's a gamble, a big one. And I want to ask you this, even if Trent stays, would you draft a tackle at 27 to prepare for the future? Or do you think that pick needs to go somewhere else? Because this is where roster philosophy matters. Are you drafting for immediate impact, or are you drafting for succession planning? If Trent leaves, you're drafting out of desperation. If he stays, you're drafting out of strategy. Those are two completely different positions to be in. And here's the uncomfortable truth. There is no plug-and-play replacement for Trent Williams. He's an anomaly. His athleticism at his age is rare. His power is rare. His leadership is rare. So when people say, next man up, that sounds good in theory. But at left tackle on a Super Bowl contender, next man up better be special. Otherwise, the entire offense feels it. And that brings us to the biggest question of all. What does this mean for the Super Bowl window? Because that's where this conversation ultimately leads. This isn't just about one contract, this is about the trajectory of the franchise. Let's bring it home. This is where everything ties together. You can talk about cap numbers, you can talk about age curves, you can talk about long-term flexibility, but at the end of the day, this conversation comes down to one thing. Can the 49ers realistically win a Super Bowl without Trent Williams? I'm going to be honest with you, I don't see it. And that's not dramatic, that's not emotional, that's understanding how this roster is built. The offense is designed to function with stability on the edges. The run game relies on physical dominance. The quarterback needs confidence in his blindside protection. When Trent is on the field, the entire unit plays with a different level of assurance. Take him away, and suddenly everything becomes harder. Play calling tightens up. Protection schemes get more conservative. The margin for error shrinks. And in the playoffs, when you're facing elite pass rushers every single week, that margin matters more than ever. This is a championship window team. That window doesn't stay open forever. Every year you don't capitalize is a year you can't get back. So when you're weighing cap savings versus keeping a Hall of Fame level left tackle for one more run, you have to ask yourself what the true cost is. Because sometimes saving money costs you something much bigger. Now, I'm not saying the front office doesn't understand that. They absolutely do. John Lynch knows what Trent Williams means to this team. The coaching staff knows it. The locker room knows it. That's why this feels like something that has to get resolved. And it has to get resolved quickly. The league year is approaching. Free agency moves fast. Once momentum starts in one direction, it can be hard to pull it back. So this isn't a situation you want lingering. Here's what I believe. Both sides want this to work. Trent wants to be here. The 49ers want him here. The question isn't desire, the question is structure, but until pen hits paper, there's uncertainty. And uncertainty around a player this important is always going to make the faithful uneasy. So I'll leave you with this. Can the 49ers win a Super Bowl without Trent Williams? Yes or no? I want you to answer that straight up, because if your answer is no, and I think most of you would, say no, then the path forward becomes pretty clear. You thread the needle, you find the compromise, you make it work. This offseason was always going to require big decisions, but this one might be the biggest of all. We're going to stay on top of every update, every development, every hint that comes out about this situation. So if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed. We're pushing toward 2,000 subscribers, and this community is growing because of you. Every new member of the Faithful strengthens this channel, and if you want to directly help elevate the coverage, don't forget you can use Super Thanks or the Hype feature. That's you fueling the quest for the next Super Bowl trophy. That's you helping us improve production quality and build something special for this fan base. Now it's your turn. Drop your thoughts below. Should the 49ers pay Trent whatever it takes? Should they draft his successor immediately? Or is this all just negotiation noise that will resolve itself? We'll keep watching. We'll keep breaking it down. And as always, we'll keep it real with you.